Hello everyone, I'm back again, one day later with more thrift store finds. I went this morning and had an unexpectedly huge haul from the bargain bins, considering I was just there yesterday. Normally, you go back the next day and there's nothing there, but they brought out some stuff, and the store's been a huge hit with DVDs, VHS, and that type of media. It's always big in stock, but we've added hundreds recently, and now I just added a ton more for pennies a piece to bargains to where I know it's supplied. I'm eventually going to need, so might as well get it while it's there. So man, we are overloaded with DVDs though right now, but good stuff for paying pennies a piece. A sealed tin, one of these Pop Flicks collections, 45 episodes, best of TV westerns. Very, very shiny. I have a couple of these Pop Flicks tin cases. They're actually pretty cool. One thing I've never seen before, the Bazooka Classic Bubble Tunes. I've never seen a DVD with this where it actually includes a Bazooka Joe interactive game. Never seen that before. So it's old Fleischer Superman cartoons, and has over 100 minutes, so that's a lot. It's several hours worth, just about almost 2 hours of the history of Bazooka Bubblegum. It's kind of an odd thing there, and an interactive game. I've never seen this before. I bet there were a whole bunch of them for a short period of time. A 3-disc special edition DVD set of Ichi the Killer. This is really cool. Again, so this for like 10 cents. Amazing. Then we have a sealed copy of Desire Under the Elms. One archive. Weird that there was just one. There's almost always, if you find one archive, a decent amount just sitting there, a whole bunch at one time. Randomly just one, but we have While the Patient Slept, one archive. Live, Die, Repeat, the premiere episodes of the Mythbusters, Sam Rockwell in Moon, and Elizabeth Taylor commemorative double feature set. Sealed copy of Pagan Warrior, which I'm pretty sure I've seen this in like the dollar store before, but I did not pay $1. Then we have Bobby, widescreen edition, a Warner Brothers triple feature. We have Fort Worth, Colt 45, and Tall Man Riding. This is a Randolph Scott triple feature. Sex and the City, the movie, the extended 2-disc version. The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking. This is an Amanda movie. This is one of her favorite childhood movies, and this is one of those that she introduced me to that was a childhood favorite of hers that I had never seen. If you have a chance to find this cheap, check this version of Pippi Longstocking out, because it is very surprising. It's actually really entertaining. It was one of those that I enjoyed going back and watching, and I liked watching it because it was something that was special to Amanda, but also in its own right, it was just genuinely fun. It's definitely like Robo Pippi. Like, if you watch it, you understand. It's a fun movie. 13 minutes, every second counts. Sounds like a... I'm not gonna say what it sounds like. We have Tutankhamun, Tut the Boy King. It's a documentary hosted by Orson Welles. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the remake with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. I think made around the time they were first married, I believe. I saw it in theaters. Then we have Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Henry Fool, that one. Winter's Bone, Jennifer Lawrence. Music and Lyrics. This was such a weird one for me because I wanted to like it. I like rom-coms. I really like Drew Barrymore, and Drew Barrymore was really good in this, but I can't stand Hugh Grant. He just is not... none of his roles, he doesn't seem believable. He just doesn't seem authentic. We have Freedom Writers, The Romantics, a sealed copy from the Biblical Collectors series, the Biblical End Times. Are end times warnings true? I don't know. Are they? When did this come out? Depends when they say the world ends. I love finding something, especially like older, like VHS ones, those kind of things, where it's like the world will end in 1996, or Y2K is coming. All those, and it's like 2023. This actually, I never knew there was this BBC version of the other Bullion Girl. I've seen the movie, the Hollywood production, but yeah, I never knew there was another version. It's kind of interesting. Last Chance Harvey, Hell or High Water, A multi-disc set from Mill Creek of Beautiful Planet, France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. Push, Kate Blanchett in Charlotte Gray, an old snapper case. A sealed double feature, these budget, region-free, like thin case things. I see them all the time, and sometimes they are a surprising treat because a lot of these are things that are a bit harder to find. A lot of times it's TV movies, things that were just kind of these obscure things where they're going to be terrible quality, they're on a crappy little DVD, but it's always kind of weird, obscure stuff that you may never have heard of before. And there's one with Cheryl Ladd, Robert Wagner. It's kind of interesting. So we have Treasure of Jamaica Reef and Beneath 12 Mile Reef. So kind of a weird double feature. And then Sight and Sound Theaters, Creating in the Beginning. Stepford Wives. And now moving on to VHS. A couple of usual suspect things that we sell a lot, especially on Etsy, and then a few oddball ones that I thought were kind of cool to pick up. But we have Nickelodeon's Rugrats, the Santa Experience. I always grab when I find them cheap any Nickelodeon, the old orange VHS cassettes. Halloween H2O, as it's commonly referred to. The Britney Spears movie Crossroads. 16 Candles, classic 80s movies. If I find them cheap, I will almost always pick up, because even though they don't sell for a lot, get them cheap, they will sell guaranteed. It's just a guarantee. Stuff from that era. That and horror are the two demographics that like I will get just about anything. And then we have one of these ancient mysteries, the the new investigations of the unsolved from the Reader's Digest presents. Is actually, these are fun. I've seen a bunch of these over the decades. Some are better than others. This one has The Lost People of Chaco Canyon, which is narrated by Leonard Nimoy, so that's an immediate plus. I love when he narrated documentaries. And then we have The American Indians' Sacred Ground. So lots of interesting documentary stuff. And now a couple of weird things. We have from, what year was this? 90, I know I saw it on here. 96 or something like that, but it's from Hershey Park. It is the Candy Lane. So we have this is what I grew up going to Hershey Park in the summers pretty frequently in Pennsylvania, and then every Christmas going to the Candy Cane Lane, and the Christmas lights and the setup and something kind of a cool thing to watch, that I'll have fun testing out. But then on top of that, this is something that someone else is going to want nostalgically to find, and I always look for recorded stuff. Sometimes I find some good things. Most of the time it's just they record a movie off TV. I'm always on the lookout though for stuff like live TV recordings with the commercials of old Nickelodeon, definitely like Nick at Night stuff. Always on the lookout for those. Very hard to find, but I found a few things that I'm going to look through, and especially if they have the commercials, they'll definitely be a good thing. It's fun to watch and to pop up on the Etsy store. The final episode of Seinfeld, and if that has the commercials, that'll be really, really cool. And then MTV Video Awards 1999. So we will see. It's one of those things that it's really funny because as growing up with VHS and recording stuff, one of the skills was trying to edit out the commercials as you're getting up and perfectly timing it to where you stop it and then start it as soon as it comes back on, and like getting really good at the timing. And now looking back, you want to find the ones where people didn't do that, or they have the commercials. What you fought so hard to get rid of back in the 90s, recording stuff, is now what is sought after, having the full experience and the episode promos and all the in-between stuff. It's just really funny that it works so hard to try and get those out of there, and now that's where the fun is. And moving on to music, a lot more music than I normally pick up. Found a couple that will be good for just kind of lots, and then some individual ones, but we have a group of Willie Nelson that all look like they're in great shape. I always look through the cassettes and see if I can find stuff, especially like old rap or rock, but it wasn't really anything much like that this time. Some Jimmy Buffett, another one that'll just be like a cheap little lot, but cost me pennies. And some Barbra Streisand, including one that is still sealed. So Barbra Streisand concert, the Bee Gees' Greatest Hits, some Pat Benatar and Cyndi Lauper. I always like this cover of She's So Unusual. And we have Then and Now, Best of the Monkees, and Prince, 1999. Then on CD, found Cole Porter, good collection of music. Magic Moments, Volume 5, the original masters, and says a lot of good older tunes. This is actually from a giant screen experience, like a nature documentary, an IMAX type thing, Wolves, the official soundtrack. Then the official American Bandstand Library of Rock and Roll, collection of the 2-disc set of music from the 50s. Michael Bublé, Come Fly With Me, and this is the edition that has the DVD included. So the DVD and CD set. The Best of the 70s Spotlight Dances. A sealed old Columbia House CD set, the Ultimate Doo-Wop Classics Volume 1. It's a 3-disc set. The fact that it was sealed made it worth the grab. Some Bee Gees, Greatest Hits, multi-disc set for that. One random video game find, one of these edutainment PC games. It is Mojo Jojo's Clone Zone, the Powerpuff Girls Learning Challenge. One of those just kind of oddball titles, but that was fun to grab. One toy, then some books, and then I went somewhere else. I came home with so much stuff, and I was not expecting to today. So that was there a bit longer. And then I found a Scarlet Witch. She was in really good shape. There was also a Hulk and a Thor and one other thing, but they were all missing like an arm or a leg or like somewhat destroyed, but she was pretty much perfect. Scarlet Witch. Now moving to all the books. I've done well with vintage cookbooks in the past, and this is from 1930, so that's pretty interesting. Going to find some interesting recipes, and there are definitely people who try to make very authentic meals from a certain time period. I know a lot of people do like Jello mold type stuff, and it's very interesting if you want to have a sort of theme. So this was definitely a good grab to get, and a few books that are kind of like a mix of the Pango type stuff to hand over to Amanda, stuff for eBay, whatever. Warrior of Magic, 7 Songs of Merlin, another vintage book, Dr. Darwood, one of these Warriors books, and then a few of these Penguins classics, and we have Grania, The Paris Spy, and we have The Black Mausoleum, Dragons Rule Now. And then on the way home, I had to stop and do some other errands and things, and stopped at one other spot and actually found a handful of good things. A Blu-ray set. This is a music set on Blu-ray. One that I've never heard of before. I had no idea what this was, but it looked interesting enough that I was like, I'll do a quick check it out and see if it's worth grabbing. It was definitely worth grabbing. One book that was worth getting for $1, Tour Fantasy release of Brandon Sanderson's Oathbringer. And I couldn't believe, this is a spot that tends to have decent toy selections, but that tends to be the category that for some reason they really individually price out and put kind of behind the counter. They're normally better for finding books and movies, but they had one toy that was surprisingly, for them, way underpriced. But we have a Zerg from StarCraft, one of my favorite PC games of all time, played like crazy in the 90s when that came out. I think what was StarCraft 97 when that came out originally. But yeah, this was just a really fun find. He was sitting there on the shelf, and for some reason he was like half the price of the generic Marvel toys that were like 2 years old. Whatever. Yeah, so he was definitely worth grabbing. That's cool. So a ton of finds today. I couldn't believe how much media and stuff that I found, and particularly on a day where I wasn't really anticipating that. I was out a lot longer than I intended to be, but hey, got everything done. I have tons of stuff to work through. Now I just gotta work through and situate all this before Monday in the big book sale, because then We have a ton more stuff. This is definitely the kind of like bulking season, and then the fall is the sell out everything. But yeah, if you're looking for DVDs, we have so many DVDs in stock right now. They're selling out. You know, we sell a few every single day, but it's just one of those that like just so much of it now bulking up, and it's a good thing. It's a really good thing for now, and I love finding stuff like this one. It's actually worth grabbing. I wish I could find more where people have cool vintage TV stuff, but yeah, definitely an interesting find this morning. A lot of variety, and I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you around.